so the new host can go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I'll have her move the host privilege back to you.
Yep, she just did.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, she said you're not muted, by the way. Tell them to put it there.
Oh, sorry.
Don, are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. I was
Bill,
getting a
can you hear
technical
me?
error. Yes, Chief, I can hear you as well.
Okay, I'll be back on shortly.
Good morning. Can anybody hear me? Dawn?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more to join. We have about 7 more minutes. Hi, Norma. I see you. Can you hear me? You're still on mute. I just want to make sure we can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, we've got 5 more minutes, and Gary, I see you also.
Hi, Pete, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Gary. How about Shantae? Can you hear me and can you respond?
I can hear you.
Okay, great, fabulous. Marla,
I can hear you. And
okay,
I'm on.
perfect.
Thank you.
And Ray, Ray, I see that you're up there, but I don't see a picture of you, nor can I hear you. Dawn, can you work with Kathy to give Ray a phone call? Do you hear me, Dawn?
Yeah, I do. I'll reach
Okay.
out to Kathy.
Okay, thank you. So right now we need 7. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm hoping we're going to have, we are supposed to have a quorum today, so we still have 4 more minutes, so we'll keep watching.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Ray, can you say something? Ray, if you can hear us, we're still not hearing you.
Eric, he may have walked away from his computer, and if you could just give him a call on his cell just to make sure everything's okay.
Well, Kathy was just on the phone with him. He says he can hear us. He had
Oh, okay.
his mic. Let me ever call him again.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Patty, welcome. I see you there. Can you hear me? And can you see if we can hear you?
Can you hear me? I was trying to use my
Yes.
headsets, but it's not working.
I can hear you perfect right now. So
Wonderful.
we need one more person. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Hello to everyone.
Good morning.
I can see that Jose De La Garza is on the attendee list, so he hasn't gotten into the one for our CAC group. So can Dawn or Phil, could you reach out to him and help him get on to the right screen?
I'm doing, he's supposed to be a panelist, correct?
He's a panelist, yes. So once Jose's
Jose?
on,
Jose, can you hear us? Jose, you're muted.
Is on. Ray, can you
About
hear me?
now, Chief.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, good morning,
Fabulous. Morning. So we do have a quorum. We still have one more minute.
Good morning, everyone. This is Norma. Chief, just so you know, if I go off video, it's probably because I have to go respond to my aunt real quick, okay? And then I'll come back on.
Not a problem.
And just to let you know, Chief, I'm unable to use my camera on my phone, so I can see all of you. Obviously, I can hear everyone, so just know that you just won't be able to see me, okay?
Perfect. Thank you. And I see, Martin, that you joined us. Can you hear me, Martin?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, it looks, I see Takesha. Can you hear me, Takesha?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to start. Captain Collum, are you ready?
Yes, having a few technical difficulties, but looks like I'm ready.
Chief, I've got Ray on the phone. He's trying to call in. Do you want to have him just join afterwards, or do you want us to keep working with him first?
I saw that there's a call-in user in the attendee list. And so if that's the case, if that's him, then he won't be able to talk with
No.
us. So
I'm not sure who that caller is, but Ray's on the phone right now, so he's going to try and call in.
okay, we'll wait for Ray then for one moment.
Chief Kennedy, this is Christina Hernandez from the clerk's office. That should be a member of the public.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. You all look great today.
I put earrings on for you guys. I
Wow.
forgot the lipstick. Oh, well, can't get everything.
I just wish they had a special focus on the camera lens. That would be much more appreciated. We need the special effects that they have with all the cell phones.
Chief, you can borrow the one they use for me.
Chief, are you referring to the background at the beach or some?
You know what? That's a nice one too. I always feel like I'm on vacation when I look at people's backgrounds and they're like on some tropical island. And can you whisk me away? Dawn, are we close?
Ray's calling in right now, so let me see when he calls in if I can when he calls in. Give me 1 second.
Will it interrupt you, Don, if you're trying to do that work behind the scenes and then
Nope.
we could start?
Yep, we can start if you want.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start then. So I'll call the meeting to order, and the time is now 9:33 a.m. on April 1st, 2021.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Chief, am I starting the recording right now?
Oh, so sorry. Yes, go ahead and I'll restart.
Okay.
Start the recording.
Starting the recording.
Okay. So I'll call the meeting to order. The time is 9:33 a.m. on April 1st, 2021. I would like to call this meeting of the Police Department Community Advisory Committee to order. In the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the governor's executive order N-29-20, members of the Police Department Community Advisory Committee and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. And staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference, excuse me. In accordance with the executive order, the public may view this meeting online only and not in the Chula Vista Police Department's community room. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in this meeting from their own homes. You can find the link to the e-comment for this meeting at www.chulavistaca.gov/virtual meetings. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the committee time to read any comments that have been received. If you have any difficulty or you need assistance with e-comment during this meeting, please email Captain Phil Collum for assistance at pcollum, so PCOLLUM @chulavistapd.org. So I'd like to ask Kathy Miller to please call the roll.
Good morning. Have Member Ray Aragon. I think he's still having problems. I'll come back to him. Member Gustavo Bidart. Member Patty Chavez.
Present.
Member Takesha Corbett. Member Jose de la Garza.
Good morning, everybody present.
Member Henrietta Harb. Member Sante Lampkin.
Present.
Member Marla Kincaid.
Present.
Member Anthony Milliken. Member Gary Sablan.
Gary is here.
Member Norma Casares.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I have Ray, are you on yet? I see him on screen, but we're still having technical difficulty. That's it, Chief.
Okay, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll get Ray on shortly. So public comments is a section on the agenda for members of the public to address the committee on items that are not listed on the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. Captain Collum, is that working? We normally see it on the screen.
Yes, cameraman's handling it right now.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, the commenting period for the public comments is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And I'd like to ask Captain Collum if there have been any comments.
Chief, no comments were received via email, and bear with me, I'm just refreshing my screen to confirm on the virtual meetings link.
Chief, I didn't hear my name called in the roll, and I tried to unmute and it wouldn't let me.
Okay, thank you, Martin. We'll make sure that you are on the list.
Thank you.
So Chief, no comments were received via e-comment either. So 0 comments via e-comment and no comments via email.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the chief's comments. And so I wanted to let you know that I wanted to recognize someone after 18 years of service to our Community Advisory Committee group. Member Peter Mabry is retiring, and he sent me a really nice note that I wanted to share with all of you. He said, I'm moving to La Paz, BCS, to live with my fiance Adriana in a home that they bought in October. And he said his plan is to start a sports fishing charter business as retirement occupation. And then he also wanted me to share this with you. He said, I've been so blessed to have been a member of the CVPD Community Advisory Committee and part of the wonderful community of Chula Vista. Thank you for this honor and privilege. I will miss everyone and hope you will all come to La Paz someday and fish with Pedro's Real Mar Sports Fishing. So we will be sending a nice memento to thank Peter for his service. Norma, I think he was one of the original, so he's worked under 3 chiefs now. So, and that's pretty impressive for what he's done. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew that, so that we will be seeking interest in another person to fill in his spot also. If anyone wants to get a hold of Peter, I'd be more than happy to share information with you so that you could reach out to him. And then also on my chief comments, I want to give an update on the Aopr update. And so I hope that you all know we've been doing a lot of outreach right now, and we're very excited that the community is interested in having a conversation about the Aopr program. And I really wanted to let you know that this is what it looks like when you have a police community partnership, that together we will work to make sure that we're doing the right thing, balancing privacy concerns along with making sure that we are providing the type of technology that helps us keep Chula Vista safe. So for those of you who don't know, kind of a little bit of an up-to-date info on who we've been meeting with. And then I hope that people are reaching out to you as CAC members, because what happens sometimes is people won't meet with us. And so that can be challenging also when someone's not willing to come to the table to have dialogue and talk about the pros and the cons and concerns. And so I've met, of course, with the CAC. We've had this conversation many times, as well as the Human Relations Commission in Chula Vista, San Diego Alliance, a member from South Bay People Power, and the ACLU. So I'm encouraging you to make sure that our community is aware that we will be hosting, along with the city, an Aopr community forum on April 7th, and we are seeking the public's input. It's very important. We want to take back the public's input to City Council on April 20th. And right now, everyone's voice is very important. So if you have any comments, whether positive or negative, or if you want to submit recommendations or things that we should consider, please let your voice be heard. And I would encourage you to also say the same to the community. You can have members that are requesting to share comments on the April 7th meeting. They can either do it by call-in comments, and that's what the city has assured me, that they're going to have an opportunity for people to call in. They'll also have e-comments, and then you can also send emails. When an email goes to any of the council members, they're supposed to be able to provide that as well. You can send it also to the clerk's office. So if you go to www.chulavistaca.gov/community forum by April 6th. They said that all that information will be provided to anyone from the community that wants to share their input. And then on April 20th, there'll be a city council meeting where we will present at. And you could also encourage people, my understanding is there's going to be in person, and what they mean by that is socially distanced, very careful. They're going to allow one person in at a time to be able to go up to council, put the podium and speak. And then they can also provide e-comments as well as email messages in addition. So really, I think that together we can all really encourage the community to participate. And you know that there was a lot of information that was provided, and I want to give a lot of thanks to Captain Thunberg, who has been putting a lot of work into presenting. It's very comprehensive. It takes a long time. On average, it can take almost an hour for him to present just from the report that we presented. But there's been a lot of information out there that shared what we're doing differently than what we really are doing. So I encourage you to read the report so that you'll have some background information and then come forward with questions after that. And then also I wanted to give you an update on the drone.
Steve, can I make a quick comment regarding this update you just provided us?
Sure, go ahead, Marla.
Before you move on to the next one, as you were sharing, I wanted to, thank you and your command staff for really listening to the community's concerns regarding confidentiality and appropriateness and appropriate use of this technology. And having said that, it really is a device to keep our community safe, to empower that coordination of police community partnerships. And so I'm wondering if a couple things can happen. The link for we can give comments, if that could be sent out with the report maybe sometime today, giving us really ample time to review it. But it would be nice if we can, if appropriate, and I'll kind of lean on Norma, but as our chair, as individual members to kind of put in that we're for this. We're appointed on behalf of our community, and we really want to get that. I personally want everybody to know that you've addressed the confidentiality. It's a safe tool. It's there to keep our community safe. So I would love our CAC to really put their voice out there.
So thank you, Marla. Norma, can the CAC provide a comment in regards to their position, or do they need to provide a comment in regards to them being either a community or business member? I'm not certain. I don't see Carol on the line for guidance from a legal perspective.
Right. I think we need Carol to give us some guidance on that. And
Carol, just a reference, Carol is listening. She's having some technical difficulties. I'm going to see if I can reach her on the phone.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. And then I think what's important that as the CAC, which basically, you know, we are the community. The community trusts us, so they come to us to share concerns, to share anything they're excited about or whatever for the city and for the department, and that they know too that we do have a thorough discussion in that, and we certainly understand and can what should I say? We appreciate the concerns that the community has, and that we're listening, and that we want to voice their concerns, and that we want to make sure that whatever policies are presented to us, that we look at it through the lens of the community and addressing any concerns that we have as well. So as we have been doing with the license plate readers, which is another term for ALPR, that, you know, we're being vigilant, we're asking questions, we're inviting the public to give us input. And so that then we can make sure that their concerns are being heard in that. So, and I personally, like Marla, am confident with the ALPR procedures, particularly after Captain Eric Thunberg presented him at the March 23rd meeting?
Yes.
Council meeting? I think it was March 23rd,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that was a very thorough presentation that Captain Eric gave. He did a good job with it. Like you said, it was pretty long, but it was good. It was thorough. And so I'm hoping that the public had an opportunity to listen to that as well. But given the history.
Chief, I do have Carol on the phone here now. And I think, Carol, can you do a quick test just to see if you can be heard on the meeting?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
they're giving thumbs up and nodding. So go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I missed a little bit about this. I think at the beginning, you were wondering the question, as I understand it, can the CAC comment as a group or as an individual? Is that correct?
Yes, and is it inappropriate if someone identifies
Chief, you're
themselves?
muted.
It's not on mute.
I could hear you just fine, boss.
Can you hear me?
Okay, everybody
Can
else
hear
is
you,
giving thumbs up, so I think you're good. And Chief, I can see you're having technical difficulties. I'll walk right over.
No. Everyone can hear me, but not you.
So go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of that, Norma, because Bill was reaching me on the phone, but you as members absolutely may, comment in any form that you want, and you can identify yourself as a CAC member, a member of our community, et cetera. So you can absolutely comment as an individual. Now, in terms of the CAC as a body speaking, it's really, I think it would be appropriate after, if there's a consensus, we are talking about ALPR, but if the group, the CAC, the group says, we would like to express this, position A, we would like to express that, position B, and the group has, like a motion, a second, discussion and whatnot, then I think you could say, if you wanted to comment, the CAC as a group said A or B. Does that make sense?
Yes. So Norma, did you hear that?
Yeah, I had a little bit of difficulty because it was kind of low, but my only thing is that we have a community forum coming up April 7th, and I think it's important for all CAC members to be in on that community forum and listening to what the community has to share with us as well. Once we've done that, that's when I personally would be absolutely ready to get some kind of feedback from the CAC as far as any statement that we may make.
So just to clarify, anyone has the, they can provide any input that they want to, positive or negative, to the e-comments.
Right.
And they can go ahead and identify themselves. There's nothing wrong with saying you're a CAC member. But right now, we're not going to take no one will be taking a stance as the CAC. I do think it's very important what you said, Norma. I do believe we really need to listen to the community. And as we do this, we're going to be making recommendations on things that we could do to improve. And it's really important that we listen to the community right now. There are concerns, and we have to address what the community's concerns are, and that's where you come into play.
Right. And so what I'm understanding from Carol and from this discussing right now, that if any CAC member as an individual, if they wish to at this point, today, submit something regarding this, absolutely. But as a group, I think the best time would be after a forum. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Great, thank you.
Norma, you got it. And the difficulty is with the short timeline, it's going to be very difficult, if at all. I don't know if it's possible to have a meeting between the 7th, after the very instructive listening session for the entire community, and going to council on the 20th. So, it might be more expedient for just people to reach out as individuals and, you know, share your feelings. You all are individuals, you all have unique perspectives, and, you know, that's why you're on this committee.
Right.
It certainly wouldn't diminish the value of your individual comments, you know, to proceed that way. So Norma's got it. I agree, you know, with that particular position.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else, Norma? And I'm going to move on otherwise to the drone update.
No, nope, that's it.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you an update on our drone program that we have here called the Drone as First Responder Program. We were very excited. As you know, we've talked a lot about this throughout the past couple years. And Chula Vista has been considered a leader in the Drone as First Responder Program. And I want to make sure everyone continues to realize this is not used for surveillance. We respond to actual radio calls, our Priority 1 and Priority 2 radio calls, or emergency calls to feed our officers real-time information about what's happening so they can make better informed decisions and keep the community, the officers, and the subjects we encounter safer. Quite frankly, at times I just don't understand why it's not a national news story, because this is de-escalation truly at its best. But what's exciting for our community is that the FAA has given us another approval through it's called a COA, Certificate of Authorization, which allows us to fly anywhere in the city of Chula Vista. So that means when you talk about equitable coverage, we cover 100% of the city of Chula Vista. And I want to give a lot of credit. You know, Captain Redmond is on the phone. He oversees that program. We are working very hard to make sure, and we're sharing the story with anyone who wants to hear the story. In fact, the other day I had a community member call in that was asking some questions and concerned about certain things in the community. And we allowed her to come into the department and see all that we're doing here. And I think it really kind of gave her a broader perspective of how important it is for community safety. So we fly from, we have 5 launch sites. We fly from the police department headquarters, from Bayview Hospital. We fly from Southwestern College, which I have to tell you, all the instructors there are pretty excited about that because they have a drone program and their students get an opportunity to see it firsthand. We also fly from the Ayers Hotel and Sharp Hospital. So we're pretty excited about what this means to public safety in our community. And then I also wanted to give you an update on Measure A. So I'm going to read this so I don't make any mistakes. So it says, upon its initial approval by City Council, Measure A Public Safety Expenditure Plan was intended to fund 29 sworn positions and 14 civilian professional positions. So far, to date, Measure A has funded 37 sworn positions and 16 civilian positions. And that also includes in that plan 3 more sworn positions this July, or July of 2022. So that's a grand total of 40 sworn positions. And we're pretty excited about that, and an additional 16 civilians. That's 13 more positions than was originally planned and we thought the funding would cover. So hiring new, and I want you to know this is the challenge that we have right now. And we're looking at retention as well as attrition with retirements, and the job is inherently dangerous. We lose many people to medical. So hiring new police officers can take about 18 months for each new officer to go through from hire all the way through the academy, through training to get out on the streets. So of the 37 sworn positions, 31 have been hired and 12 of those are in the process of training right now. So we only have through Measure A 6 vacant positions. So you'll hear people saying, you know, we are the lowest staffed department in San Diego County. That is without a doubt. You can look in Sandag and see all the information in regards to that. But we are hiring, but the challenge that we have is with our vacancies right now, because people are medically retiring, people are leaving the profession, people are moving out of the state of California to take other positions. And so it's created a little bit of challenge for us. We have our authorized 275 sworn, and of those are the Measure A positions, but we actually only have 238 sworn. So we have 37 vacancies and 7 frozen positions. When you look at our civilian staff, we have 110 authorized positions, but our actual numbers are 100. So we have 10.5, and that's for a half-time position. So why am I saying this to you? Because first I want you to know people think we have it hired through Measure A, and Measure A has been amazing what it has done for our department. And I'll put it into context this way. When I started as a chief of police, keeping in mind I've been here for almost 29 years, but when I started December 30th of 2016, we had 227 authorized sworn positions, and we now have 275. So we are making progress. We're hopeful that we're going to be able to re-engage people in our community to understand that each of you on the CAC, as well as our community, needs to help us find the right people that have a heart for service, that are going to be someone we want to put on this uniform, that are going to have the cultural competency that we want, that are going to understand that there are challenges in law enforcement, that we want them to be on the front line with us, helping our community. And for me, what it really means is I tell people call us because they need help. When they stop calling us is when it becomes more challenging. The fact is, people, no matter what the call for service is, they call us because they need help. And our job is to be problem solvers, to treat people with compassion and dignity, and do the right thing. So I hope that you will all look for those right people, tap them. Sometimes, especially with women, you know, we have 20% female law enforcement officers, and that's huge. The national average is 13. So sometimes people don't even consider themselves to even think about law enforcement, and I call it the nudge. You like give them a little nudge and say, you would be a great officer. The way that you talk to people, the way that you help people, you would be a great officer, because it's really about service. So I just want to give you an update on that so that you are aware of where we're at. And, you know, I want to get those 37 positions filled. So any help that you can provide will be greatly appreciated. And then Captain Collin was going to give us a quick update, and then we'll move into the rest of the agenda. And I know chief comments always take a long time, but I try to agendize them so you can see what we're going to be talking about now in case there are questions. But we wanted to give an update on, as we talk about social justice and the concerns that we have about racially motivated calls for service, the policy update that Captain Collins has been working on. So Phil, if you could provide some input.
Absolutely, Chief. So for quite some time, actually, the police dispatch center, our communication center, our 911 center, has had a policy internal to the center and reflected in their training as well, where they are trained that if someone calls for a police call for service and there is not sort of enough articulable cause to justify a police contact, that they will not dispatch a police officer. So they are trained to ask questions to sort of to determine whether or not the circumstances somebody's calling in essentially justifies a police response. The way this comes into play, and why we're bringing this up recently, is there has been concern in the national dialogue about racially motivated calls. Somebody calling the police simply to report a suspicious person, in a certain circumstance where there is no other articulable explanation for why that's suspicious. Sometimes there can be circumstances where it may be suspicious and we might dispatch an officer. Obviously, if somebody was testing doors of parked cars to see if they could find an unlocked door in a parking lot, things like that. But we definitely want to avoid a circumstance where we're dispatching folks just because someone says somebody's suspicious, but they can't really justify or articulate any reason for that. And so dispatch has long had actually a policy, protocol, and a training system for a process to weed out those calls. What we did recently is we really wanted to take that policy that existed kind of exclusively within the organizational structure of our dispatching center, within their procedure manuals, and put it in our overarching police department, our official police department manual to formalize that. And that's exactly what we did. And there is a new section that is getting added to our manual, and I'm going to share with you what it looks like here on the screen. It falls under a section in our overall manual that relates specifically to call dispatching procedures and how dispatchers should handle them. And there's a lot of information in this manual. I know this is small. I'll zoom in just a minute. A lot of information on how to handle different sorts of callers that have a hearing or speech impairment or disability, so on and so forth. But we've added this highlighted paragraph at the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to again zoom in so you can see it a little clearer to again point out that dispatchers will not enter calls for service when reports are based solely on a person's race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. Specifically, unless a reporting party can articulate a crime being committed or a need for a police response for reasons other than a person's race, dispatch will not create an incident or dispatch officers. So this is kind of codifying, this is the draft language, but this is kind of codifying what has been a practice for a long time and just making sure it's reflected in our official policy manual. So we hope to have that out very soon in our official manual. It will, of course, be publicly available on our public website, as all of our policies are, but we just wanted to share that upcoming change.
Thank you, Captain Colm. Any questions or comments?
Captain Colm, could you send that to the CAC members?
Let me, it's a draft form, and I don't even think the attorney's office has a chance to review. So let me confirm with the city attorney on what I can send. Of course, we're very transparent. We have involved and plan to continue involving, like we always do, CAC in terms of our policy development. But I will confirm that and then send out whenever I can.
And if the CAC would like to be involved, you could always make that recommendation. We do have another policy that we'll be talking about later that we want to create an ad hoc committee for. So we can discuss that as we move further. Input's extremely important. And so oftentimes the CAC there might be a word or a terminology used that, we may need some clarity on. So we're certainly not opposed to that.
And that was my point.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I think when we move into the other discussion, we might be able to add that into it, Phil, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so we do have an agenda item later to create another ad hoc committee for a specific policy. We could, if the members so chose, we could more generalize that for not just that specific policy, but also to include, for example, this one. That would just be dependent on the motion.
Okay, I was going to move to public comments unless anyone else had anything. Okay, so I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. And I believe Captain Redmond had to leave, so Captain Colm will be taking on that responsibility, amongst many other things.
Chief, bear with me just a minute. We had a change on the slide from the clerk's office, and I've now lost the old slide, so give me just a second here.
Not a problem. Ray, while he's doing that, can you hear me now and can you respond?
Hi, Chief Christina from the clerk's office. Ray is on the line. He's as an attendee, so I'll work with Captain Colm.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, Chief, and I think we're ready to start the 2-minute clock for public comments, which I am starting now.
I never realized 2 minutes could seem like a long time. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Captain Collin, did we receive any e-comments?
Hang on, Chief. I am refreshing my screen and checking here. Oops. Chief, no comments received via e-comment and no comments received via email.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on then to action items. And somebody has an echo in the background, so if you could put yours on mute unless you're talking, that will help with that feedback. Okay, so the next order of business is the approval of minutes. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the items on the consent calendar. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments will appear. So Captain Collin, I know you're busy, but another 2 minutes, please.
Absolutely, Chief. And while we're here, if you don't mind, it is my understanding that the feedback is actually coming from committee member Aragon, Ray, who may be online, able to hear and able to talk now. Ray, are you there? Are you able to hear?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ray.
We sure can, Ray. So thank you. We would recommend that on your phone, if you can just use your mute and unmute button on your phone to avoid feedback, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief, and let me get the e-comments started. It's like juggling doing these things.
I will look forward to the day where we can all see each other again. If you could all be checking your minutes right now, that would be great. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Captain Collum, have we received any comments? And I'd also like to ask the members if they've had enough time to read if there are any submitted comments.
So Chief, we did receive one comment received via e-comment that I would bring to the committee's attention, and 0 comments received via email. Again, I'll encourage the committee to read the comment via e-comment. The link is in the chat window if you don't already have it up. Be sure to refresh your screen to see the comment if you don't see it. But just a note I wanted to share, it has been, our protocol, we don't necessarily read e-comments as they come in, and we rely on the committee members to read them. So just really wanted to draw your attention to that link and obviously have you pay attention to it. So just the one comment, Chief.
Okay, because I'm having difficulty with being able to read it because my screen is turning pink and green. So I do need, I am getting some repair work done on it, but I can't see that section because it's totally pink and green. So if you can read the comment, I would appreciate it.
Yes, bear with me here. Let me pull it up. Okay, the comment is regarding the retiring members' input that was shared by the chief at today's meeting, and asking a question about were e-comments from the last meeting from 4 communities read aloud at the last meeting. That is the conclusion of the comment.
Right. If Carol's on the line, I'd appreciate response regarding her opinion on this. I personally feel, and I don't know how other CAC members feel, but I personally feel that comments should be read. Whether we have the ability to read them or not, I think it's important for them to be recorded verbally. And so, I would like us to look into, just because the city council doesn't read the comments doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't read the comments out loud for the record. So, I'd like to discuss that, sometime as a group, and look into that possibility.
Is Carol available?
So I believe I have Carol's, we have Carol now on the line. Carol, I have unmuted you. So if your phone is unmuted, can you test and see if we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So as Phil said, to answer Norma's question, we have not read e-comments in the record. We frankly have received very few e-comments in the past. This is sort of a new format, for us. And so it's, it depends. It could be something that the group wants to do, but it's not something that we have done. It's not required. It's optional. So like in this case, obviously Norma couldn't read them, so Phil just shared that comment. But, we could decide to do differently going forward. But it just hasn't been done in the past.
Right. I think more than anything, given the times that we're experiencing, the tensions and things like that, and based on the fact that the Chula Vista Police Department, in my opinion, is already very transparent, that I would like to carry this transparency, as far as we can. And I don't think, and you're right, we hardly ever get e-comments, but I think I would like to see us, get into the pattern or routine of actually reading all comments for the record, and for the sake of transparency like that. And if we want to build trust, we have to continue to do whatever we need to do to be fully transparent.
So Carol, would we need to agendize that for the next meeting?
Chief, it would be better to put it on an agenda as a discussion item.
Okay, thank you very much.
At a
We'll do that
future
for our
meeting.
next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, no, thank you. And Phil, there were no other comments, correct?
That's correct, Chief. Just the one comment via e-comment and 0 comments via email.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll move on. Do any members have any comments or questions on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I would
the-
move to approve.
I'm sorry, who was that?
This is Ray. I'm moving to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ray. And is there a second?
Jose.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, I have a motion made by Ray Aragon and a second by Jose de la Garza. Kathy, please conduct the roll call on the vote.
I will now request each member vote by roll call. Please answer yes or no. Starting with Member Aragon,
Yes.
Member Barros, Member Barros,
You're muted. If you can give a thumbs up or down if you want.
that's a yes.
Okay,
Member Bedart is not attending today. Member Chavez,
Yes.
Member Corbett,
Yes.
Member De La Garza,
Yes.
Member Harb is not in attendance today. Member Kincaid,
yes.
Member Lampkin,
Yes.
Member Milliken is not in attendance. Member Sablon
Yes.
and Chair Cazares.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, then the motion passes. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to our next item, which is a creation of an ad hoc subcommittee to provide input on the department automated license plate reader, the otherwise known as the ALPR policy. So, and also I want to clarify that on the agenda you went out, it said automatic license plate reader. That was a typo. It's automated. And and I also wanted to give some context with this. This really is about us being able to have you as an ad hoc committee review the policy, provide input. Hopefully anyone who's interested in this will have taken the time to review all aspects of the automated license plate reader program in general. And this, the PD, we will explain the why, the what, the when, the how. And so the quorum is 7, so we cannot have more than that for an ad hoc committee. So I will now call for a 2-minute pause. And before I state that also, the ad hoc committee does not meet publicly. They meet on their own, as you have done for numerous policies in the past. Many of you have been involved in that. So I'll now call Captain Colm for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any comments on this item. And members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments will appear. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And Captain Collum, have you received any public comments?
Chief, 0 comments were received via e-comment and 0 comments received via email.
Okay, do any of the members have comments or questions before we go to a vote to see if you're interested in the ad hoc committee to review the ALPR policy? Gary?
Yeah, Chief, what would be the commitment? I'm looking at my calendar and I have some personal days off. So I want to make certain that if I should volunteer, that I'm available.
Phil, from your past experience with the review committees, what do you estimate the timeline to be?
Because the technology is there's an educational component to learning sort of the technology and how it's used, as well as the specifics of the policy. I would estimate maybe, depending on the committee members or the participants' availability, maybe a 1 to 2 month timeline to get it all done, and perhaps anywhere from 2 to 4 separate meetings in that timeline.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Hey, Chief, it's Carol. Can I say something?
Yes.
I may have missed something. That the dog was barking over here, and I apologize. But the vote is for the group to establish the subcommittee. And if there is a motion to do that, then I think we can have the conversation. You know, the good questions that Gary asked. You know, what's the time commitment? You know, then folks can then volunteer for it, kind of thing. So just to be clear, if the group wants this, I would suggest somebody makes a motion. There's a vote on it, and if it passes, the group wants to establish the subcommittee to look at this policy. Then we could talk about the nitty-gritty. You know, who wants to join? You know, that type of thing.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the clarification. So I will ask the CAC. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve an ad hoc committee to review ALPRs? And as we discussed earlier, there was another discussion in regards to the public comments.
And Chief, just a note, and Carol, feel free to chime in. I'm going to translate Carol while she was having technical difficulties. Send me a quick email about the other policy as well, and recommended this item is agendized as a ad hoc committee specifically related to the automated license plate reader program. Because of that, if we wanted to look into other policies or even discussions of things like reading comments, that should be agendized at a future meeting for discussion. I think that was the crux of Carol's suggestion.
Great. Thank you for the clarification. So to go back again, thank you. Carol, we need to see you. So
yeah, I'm sorry. I kept trying to load during the meeting, and I just get the spinning circle of death. And so that's why I'm really apologize. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Okay, so we will try this one more time. Then does anyone have a motion to approve an ad hoc committee to look at the ALPR policy?
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, I see a motion.
Yeah.
Gary, and then I saw Takesha raising her hand also.
I'll second it. I'll second the motion.
So I have a motion by member Sablon and a second by member Corbett. Kathy, could you please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes, I will now request each member to individually say yes or no. Member Aragon?
Yes.
Member Barros?
Yes.
Member Chavez?
Yes.
Member Corbett?
Yes.
Member De La Garza?
Yes.
Member Kincaid?
Yes.
Member Lampkin?
Shante, could you? Okay, thank you.
Member Sablon?
Yes.
Chair Casares?
Yes.
I have 9 passing and 3 are not present.
Thank you. So the vote passes. There'll be an ad hoc subcommittee established to look at the ALPR policy. I would like to open this up for any member comments or questions. I know that Gary Sablon had one earlier about the time estimate for this group, which Phil indicated it could be 2 to 4 meetings and up to 2 months. Certainly, we would hope to do it sooner, but it's a pretty complicated subject that we want deep conversation in. So any comments or questions?
I'd like to be a part of the committee.
Okay, so Dr. Corbett,
Yeah, and I would too.
Norma,
And include me, Jose.
And Gary Sablon as well.
So right now, this is what I have. Dr. Takesha Corbett, I have our chair, Norma Casares, I have Gary Sablon and Jose de la Garza. Anyone else interested?
Chief Kennedy, how many are you looking to have on this ad hoc committee?
We cannot have, to my understanding, not Norma, but Carol, more than 7. Is that correct?
That's correct. We need to stay below 7, so we don't have basically another meeting of the CAC. This is a subgroup of the CAC. So right now we have 4. We can
have
up to
2 more.
6.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I'd be happy to be on it.
Okay, Marla Kincaid. I have 1 more position open.
I'll take that position.
Okay, thank you, Shante.
Mhm.
Okay, great. We will now move on to the presentation by Captain Collum. We wanted to have him give a brief update on crime trends and technology that we're using to enhance public safety. We're not going to go very deep into that, but if I'll go ahead right now and allow for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the items mentioned. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments will appear.
And Chief, I just wanted to clarify, are you requesting a commenting period for the item 6.1 on recent crime trends? And
I am reading what my notes say right here. So these notes might be a little bit not perfect. So if you make a mistake, so we can go ahead and wait till after you present.
I think that would be my, sorry to interrupt
we
you.
will be, no, that's okay. But we'll be I'm making some notes on here myself, like, oh, arrows are moving to other areas. So this is what happens when you're really busy and you don't get a chance to review until moments before the meeting. So I apologize.
And yeah, and these are thanks to all of you for, I know several of you are communicating with me through messages with technical difficulties here and there. And thanks for your patience. We can't wait to get back to meeting in person. If you could see my office over here right now, I feel like a commander at NORAD dealing with so many different chat windows, emails, phone calls, cell phones, and other things. So, but thanks, Chief. I really appreciate it. We just wanted to provide an update on sort of some crime trends, some good news, some concerning news as well. You know, we in the police department, we've long had a belief in community engagement and informing our public, being transparent to the public, and true to form. We that's what this is about, quite honestly, because we always believe that it is through partnership with the community that we're able to keep our community safe. And sometimes partnership involves letting the public know where we're seeing challenges so that they can be informed and make sure that they stay safe, make sure that they are doing the things necessary to not have crime trends continue to rise or anything like that. So with that, I have a short presentation here that I will share my screen so that you can see it here. That didn't work. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see the PowerPoint presentation on your screen. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So just a little bit of information about some recent crime trends that we are tracking. We monitor crime trends obviously all the time. We also report them out to various authorities in the state and federal government, and to keep track of how Chula Vista is doing. Chula Vista has always been a very safe community, rated one of the safest anywhere around, certainly the safest in this county. You'll see some of those numbers, but we have seen some concerning trends as well that we wanted to share with you. So a mix of news here. I first just wanted to briefly talk about our response times, and I know the chief commented on this at the last meeting. We continue to monitor how fast our emergency personnel get to the scene of emergency calls and urgent calls, and we have some goals. Our goal is to get to the scene of an emergency call within 6 minutes, and to the scene of an urgent call that's like a not necessarily life and death emergency call. Our goal is to get there in 12 minutes. And just a side note, that is from the time we pick up the phone in our 911 center to the time a police officer has driven to the scene. And we continue to beat the goal for priority 1 emergency calls. We're now averaging about 5 minutes, 42 seconds so far this year. That's great. Again, we haven't been able to beat this goal for 10 years. So this is the first time we've been able to do that. I think, in our opinion, this is likely large as our number one, of course, of the really incredible hard work and efforts of the dispatchers, the professional staff, the sworn officers out there in balancing the demands to be able to respond to these urgent emergency calls. But I'd be remiss if I didn't also talk about some of the incredible technology things that you're aware of now, like our drone as first responder program, or as our live 911 that can literally stream these 911 calls directly to a patrol officer's car and enable them to respond faster. And then lastly, quite honestly, due to staffing, Measure A, the chief talked a little bit about Measure A and the staffing increase, and all those things, after all those things began, we started seeing this start to fall. So good sign. And priority 2 calls were averaging about 33 seconds. That's still not meeting the goal, but this is another one. We haven't met the priority 2 goal for 20 years, actually. This is the lowest it's been for over a decade. So we're getting there. So again, good news in terms of the response times in the field. When you look at our overall crime, now these are statistics from the FBI. These are when you think of a city's crime rate, this is what most people consider the crime rate. And this was from the most updated report we had of this, which was mid-year 2020. You can see that Chula Vista has an overall FBI crime index of 15.30. Now, that's just numbers, it's just gobbledygook. But if you put that in context and you look at the other policing jurisdictions in the county, we are the second lowest. We are basically, in essence, you could say we're the second safest city in San Diego County. We're only beat by Coronado. And I've been to Coronado. It's, for a city of our size, 52 square miles, 270 some odd thousand people, to be that safe is an incredible achievement. And again, that's partnership with the community and the hard work of our police officers in the field as well.
Before you go on, Captain,
yeah,
Colin, just because I can't hold back on it, is this available to the public?
Yes, in fact, you see at the bottom of the screen there, the source for this is a SANDAG public report called Crime in the San Diego Region Mid-Year 2020. It is available right on the website for SANDAG.
How about ours? How about the Chula Vista PD's website?
Yes, so it is not on our website, and I'm actually waiting right now for the final 2020 statistics to come out, and it'd be my desire to get those posted on our transparency page. I will also say that the FBI is the published clearinghouse for all of this data, and they maintain a public website for every region in the country as well. So a number of places you can get this data, but hear your thoughts. Once we get the final data, we'll get
it's called easy access.
Yeah, here. So, and there's some good news in here. I mean, the reality is overall, our crime is actually down. Overall crime was down 7% by the time this report was produced. We're still the second safest city. Property crime went down as well, about 11%. But there's a couple concerning notes. Domestic violence went up just a little bit, about 5%. That could have something to do with maybe the pandemic. I'm sort of there's nobody knows for sure, but that's been one hypothesis I've heard. There's just simply more people at home. And then number 2, violent crime has gone up, which is concerning to us. And again, we're not sure of the causes. So that note about violent crime is being seen all over the country. If you pay attention to news media on crime information, all you have to do is a Google search and you're going to find dozens and dozens and dozens of articles about the rise in violent crime across the country. It's very concerning. Again, I've heard a lot of potential reasons for this. Nobody knows for sure, but among some of the researchers and criminologists that I've read reports from, I've kind of jotted down, perhaps about 6 different reasons that may be at play here. And quite honestly, it may not be one single reason. It may be an interplay of many of them. Those reasons include things like pandemic-related concerns, of course, the social stresses, the emotional stresses, the economic stressors, the financial stressors, the psychological impacts, so on and so forth. There's also what preceded and then continued during the pandemic were early release protocols to reduce both prison populations and also to reduce health risk to prison populations by reducing, quite honestly, the prison population. So that could be at play here. Distance learning could be at play here, right? More kids trying to learn from home, which is an extreme challenge, and plus those own psychological and emotional impacts that has and the impacts on the family. Decriminalization has been a trend for a few years now, with many more crimes that police officers in the state and across the country, for that matter, are decriminalized. May play some role here. Again, these are just hypotheses. Note that there's nothing certain. There have been fewer bookings as well in local jails. That again is related to changing requirements booking requirements and bail policies, partially related to the pandemic and partially related to the overall movement to reform the criminal justice system in addition. And then police activity, also impacted by the pandemic and even by the national dialogue on police community relations. So a number of possible reasons for this thing we're seeing across the country. Nobody's sure for sure exactly, though, one specific reason. But we are seeing this as well in Chula Vista. And this is the notes that concern us, right? I don't know if you saw the article earlier this year where in 2020, Chula Vista's murder rate went up 300%. And that's factually true. This is showing year to date for this year, but we're on par to have the same increase from our average. Now, you hear something like the murder rate went up 300% in Chula Vista, and it can sound pretty bad. But there's that old adage about statistics, right? Everything you have to put into context, because Chula Vista averages, just, 3 murders per year. So we had 10 last year, which is tragic and a significant increase and something we never want to happen again. But it's important to remember that when you see that number 300%, if you have because we're such a safe city, if you have a small number of crimes and then one year you have more than that small number, that's a significant percentage increase. It's a much more significant percentage increase than if you had hundreds of murders or thousands of murders. So just a note, but nonetheless, a concerning trend. Rape crimes are up a little bit over our year-to-date average. You can see there, but that's a statistical issue, just one number, so not necessarily statistically significant. Armed robberies is up, and that's statistically significant there. It's up 62% year-to-date over the average. Strong arm robberies are down a little bit. Strong arm robberies are robberies where they're not armed. Somebody threatens somebody or threatens to hurt somebody and demands that they give up some property, but no weapon was seen or known. That's a strong arm robbery. And then aggravated assaults, basically. Assaults are up 37% as well in our city, and that is, again, statistically significant. I added one additional note at the bottom of this, and that's firearm incidents, and you'll see why this relates in a minute. But calls of shootings, not necessarily where somebody was shot, don't get me wrong, but just like somebody heard shots fired or something like that, as well as calls involving guns have increased significantly as well, statistically, 200% in calendar year 2020. Now, that may relate into another statistic that is concerning, and that is the presence and prevalence of ghost guns that our officers are encountering in the field. What is a ghost gun? Well, a ghost gun is basically any gun that doesn't have a serial number on it. These are guns that are often purchased in kits and put together by the buyer. Like you buy the gun, you get the parts in, and you put the gun together yourself. Well, because that happens, it circumvents background check rules. It circumvents a lot of federal and state laws. For people that are doing ill with weapons, these weapons are untraceable because they do not have serial numbers. They're much easier to purchase for all of those reasons, and even COVID-19 may be having some impact on the sales of ghost guns, but we are seeing a significant rise in the number of ghost guns that we are seizing across our community. You can see here on this chart, we are up, a lot. It's actually 400% increase over the average in the last couple of years. So again, that may be a reflection of some of the violent crime increases we're seeing. And our officers, anecdotally, I hear stories these days of every week officers who are finding these ghost guns on individuals, whereas I would say a couple of years ago, it'd be rare if we found a gun on an individual even every couple of weeks, right? Out in the field at least. So very concerning thing that we're paying attention to and acting on. I'll share that in a minute. Overall, our violent crime, this map here is a map of the city of Chula Vista, where you see the kind of splotches of ink. Those indicate densities of crime. The darker the splotch or the brighter yellow the splotch, the more dense a crime is. And so what you're looking here at is densities of violent crime, and not too unsurprisingly based on our historical trends in Chula Vista. Most of our crimes occur on the west of the 805 area. In fact, even though that area of our city makes up only about 33% of the city's landmass, it accounts for about 70% of our police calls for service. The number one crime we've had in that area are robberies, and a lot of them are street level robberies, and I'll talk about some of our work we're doing to address those. And then you can see here some of the other crimes that we've seen as well. Assaults with deadly weapons is up as well, and those are the two probably biggest increases that we've noticed. If you're curious about where strong arm robberies are occurring, where armed robberies are occurring, or even where aggravated assaults are occurring, these three images show you those densities for those specific types of incidents. Again, primarily you can see there along the Broadway corridor, especially close to H Street is a significant area for strong arm robberies. These aren't too surprising because generally where there is higher densities of people and higher densities of traffic, both foot traffic and vehicle traffic, there tends to be higher densities of crime. Crime is, after all, opportunistic, and it is against people. So where there are more people, there sometimes can be more crime. These trends in terms of the location, I'm not aware of there being any massive changes in these in the last year, big shifts. These have been fairly consistent with my personal knowledge over the last, over 25 years that I've worked here, but just to give the public a better idea. Now, property crime, we've had some good news. Residential burglaries went down statistically significant number, 41% year to date this year so far. Again, this could have something to do with the pandemic. There's quite honestly more people home during the day. And if people are home during the day, it lessens the chance that somebody's going to break into that house. However, vehicle theft is up statistically significantly in our city as well, and something that again, we have some strategies to address. Again, similar map for property crime, showing you where the densities of crimes are. You notice that the densities are fairly similar to what you saw before. It's a little bit more spread out, and that's because property crimes are there's more of them than violent crimes in the city. Again, we remain, even though this all sounds bad news, put in context, overall crime still went down 7% mid-year last year. We're waiting for the final stats for the final bit of this year, and Chula Vista is still the number 2 safest city in the region, safest jurisdiction in the region. So this gives you an idea of the type of stuff. The number one property crimes we see are auto thefts, and then people breaking into vehicles. That's the second and third item in that table: vehicle burglary and petty theft from a vehicle. A vehicle burglary is when somebody breaks into a locked vehicle to steal stuff, and petty theft from a vehicle means that the vehicle was unlocked and they opened the vehicle and stole stuff. That's the differentiation between the two. These are definitely crimes of opportunities and things that we're going to be doing some outreach with our community to help address. And again, just another little heat map. That's what these are called, showing where residential burglaries are occurring, auto thefts tend to occur, and larcenies tend to occur which is theft. For theft and for auto theft, again, very, very similar maps. For residential burglaries, it gets a little more spread out, but you got to keep in mind, we have a lot of residences east of the 805, and that's probably why it's more distributed. Nonetheless, if you look at the little yellow areas, Again, you see that same area, Broadway 8th Street area, Broadway F Street area is another one, and then somewhere around the Telegraph Canyon area, L Street area, sorry. And so what are we doing? So the police department has a response strategy. It's being led by Lieutenant Henry Martin of our community policing unit, and he has the assistance of multiple other of our management personnel, lieutenants and watch commanders in the field who are engaging their teams. As we've talked about a lot recently, as we always do whenever there's a significant crime increase in an area of town that we can address, we do attempt to increase patrols in those areas. We have to be sensitive to not over policing a community, of course. So we only do this when there is a demonstrated need. The other thing that we do is we engage the communities in these things. These things are not isolated. We don't just simply send a bunch of cops into an area. We do a bunch of other things as well, and that's some of the stuff reflected here. We're increasing our strategies at proactive and community policing. We've got a new renewed initiative with a renewed focus on old tried and true community policing methodologies, things like getting out of the patrol car and doing foot patrols, walking in business districts, maybe even checking in with business owners, residences, apartment complexes on how things are going. We are deploying additional officers for that as well, utilizing some overtime to do some of these activities on top of our normal staff in the field. And we're creating, we have to understand that in the policing institution over the course of the last year, the pandemic has changed a lot. And so we are creating training and mentorship opportunities for officers that are, especially officers that some of our newer officers who literally completed their training and have worked the first year of their job under a pandemic environment and may not really know anything otherwise. And so we're providing those mentorship opportunities about how to utilize good proactive community policing strategies. We're doing a whole bunch of community education and outreach. We're educating our community about prevention strategies. Look how they can, number one, where these crimes are occurring. Number two, what crimes are occurring. Number three, and how they can help avoid them, right? How they can avoid becoming the victim of a street robbery or something like that. Certainly relatively easy strategies to avoid being the victim of vehicle theft, having their car stolen or having your car broken into, or even worse, leaving your car unlocked and having stuff stolen from within. And then a number of other engagement activities, partnership activities with business groups and organizations, partnership program with residences like Neighborhood Watches and others. And then just general community education through our social media feeds, through meetings like this. I was just on another one earlier this week and again 2 weeks ago, through news media updates through our city council, elected officials, city staff, and others. And then lastly, the chief mentioned the vacancies we have that we are working to fill. So recruiting, hiring, and training the best personnel to fill those vacancies, and the personnel that reflect on our community, number one, and number two, reflect the expectations of our police department as a progressive community policing organization, and meet those needs. So those are sort of our where we're heading in terms of our response. It's very early. All of the data about crime trends started becoming more clear as the year was wrapping up and getting into this current year. And so our strategies will continue to shift and change as the demands and the data and the information and our community suggests and needs it. We just really wanted to educate you, and we encourage you as well to educate our community. The PowerPoint that you just had, we will make it an attachment to the agenda like we did before. We'll be giving that to Kathy so that it can be provided and shared out with our community on our public webpage. So with that, that's the end of this presentation.
Thank you, Captain Collin. That was very informative, and I think it's really important for you to have information on what's happening with crime trends in our community. So I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear, and then I'll open it up for questions after we have public comments. The commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And Captain Collin, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received?
Chief, 0 comments for this item were received via e-comment and 0 comments received via email.
Okay, so we'll now move on. And this is where you'll be able to ask questions if you'd like to. Committee member comments. So I will, can someone just give me a thumbs up if they'd like to make a comment? Or have any questions? I'm not, okay, Norma?
No, I just want to thank Captain Collin for this very informative presentation. Some good news and, like you said, some not so good news. And to be clear, you also indicated that your slides would be available as an attachment to the agenda.
Yes, I do intend to send the PowerPoint so that they can be an attachment to the, not the agenda, but the minutes.
To the minutes. Okay, thank you. I needed some clarity there. Thanks.
Second
you,
those
Norma.
comments. Very good job there, Captain.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose.
And the goal is not certainly to alarm our community, but we want to inform our community. We want you to be aware of some of the challenges that we're facing right now and how, you know, and I also encourage you as you speak with people in the community to encourage them to call the police. And so oftentimes what we're finding is we're having some significant issues that had been occurring for a longer period of time. And people kind of just right now close their door and say, if I don't have to see it, it's not happening. But they could give us an alert to some pending issues that are occurring in particular areas. Anytime someone calls into dispatch, that information is logged into our computer-aided dispatch center. So when we try to run a specific area to see, have there been calls for service or have there been problems, then we can, it will give us a heads up that, you know, well, let's start doing more extra patrol out there. There seems to be issues that are starting to occur in this particular area. So 52 square miles is a very large city, and we're not always in every place unless we're alerted to some issues that we need to be aware of. So it's a good point to make with the community. Sometimes just sharing the information with our dispatch and saying, I just wanted to give you this information so that the officers would be aware, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a call for service or that you're going to be contacted. You can ask to be anonymous and report information. So it's really important. Any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for an amazing meeting. I do have a patient at 11, so I have to go. And I look forward to the PowerPoint. Thank you for that presentation, Captain Collin. That was very, very informative. And it's a pleasure to work with you all. Looking forward to our ad hoc meeting as well.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Corbett.
Yeah, bye.
Shante, did you have a comment or question? Oh, you were waving. Sorry.
I was waving. Sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Chief,
okay.
Yes. Chief, this is Norma. Just so you know, too, I'm going to have to log off in about 10 minutes. So
Norma, I'm hoping we're not here for 10 more minutes. I'm getting ready to adjourn the meeting unless there are any other comments from anyone.
Oh, okay. We weren't doing C2?
C2.
Yeah, it's very, very short. It's just a quick note on technology.
Oh, I thought you incorporated it in there, Phil. I'm sorry.
You know what, and I didn't. That may have been my bad. I can address C2 really, really quick. It's just basically just a note that part of our strategy to address crime, being that we, you know, we have limited resources like any organization, right? Our resources are finite. And so we have to use what strategies we can through community policing, but also through technology to do that. And that's been part of the discussion and the discourse about automated license plate readers. We've had the last 2 community forums I was at about crime. The public was asking for security cameras to be placed in parks, but there's the similar concerns potentially about that. And so it was just a note to share some of the challenges that we work through here in the police department about balancing the use of technology so that we can be efficient at responding to crime and conducting investigations, while also making sure our community stays safe, yet balancing with that the need to balance public privacy and the constitutional rights as well as our community. So it was just an additional thought to inform you all about.
Thank you, Captain Collin.
Chief Jose, I have a question in regards to the drone program and the 5 launching sites. Do you have personnel mending those sites?
Yes, so we don't have sworn law enforcement on the rooftops of these locations. These are called pilots in control. And so the FAA requires that we have a waiver for beyond visual line of sight, but we have contracted with the company. So it's much more cost efficient than paying for a sworn officer to be up on a rooftop. But we have drone pilots that are sworn officers that are in our operations center here that work in communication with the pilots in control. So it's very complicated. What I would encourage is to have anyone that wants to from the CAC, or we could schedule a time to bring you in, because it's important for you to see exactly what we're doing here at the police department so you have a better understanding, because technology, it has to be used for good. And when you see what we're doing with it and how we're protecting the rights of individuals, we're responding to radio calls. The website that we have provides the flight path update every 24 hours and a synopsis of the call for service. So any citizen that wonders, why was there a drone, or was that a police drone? Because there are recreational drones that fly all over. They don't have to abide by the same rules that we do in law enforcement. So we try to be as open and transparent. And we're at over 5,500 missions right now. So we have so many cases that show the value and use of what we're doing to keep our community safe. So, the pilot in control, we're hoping down the road that person that we contract with on the rooftop, they don't actually fly the drone, but they have the capability, if there was some airspace challenge where a drone or something came from out of the blue and flew into our flight path, they have the ability to take over the drone from our drone pilot and operate it, because safety is a #1 priority with these drones. So it's a really interesting concept. If you're ever interested, Jose, or anyone else, we'll be more than happy to take you on a tour so you can get it behind the scenes so you understand it better.
Yeah, sign me up, Chief.
Okay. Gary, is that a sign me up too?
Oh, just very quickly, I want the folks to know that I did go to the press conference that was held recently, announcing to the media that our coverage for the drone was now 100% across the city of Chula Vista. And I did want to thank you for a great presentation, and also to Captain Redmond for taking me on a tour. So I would invite anybody who is interested to take the chief up on that offer. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I think it's been well received by the community. And we definitely are trendsetting in that arena in terms of being a first responder using the drones.
And
so kudos.
Thank you very much, Gary. And we offer that to our community. As I indicated yesterday, we had one of our community members from the eastern portion of our city come out and look at what we're doing. We don't have we're very open about what we're doing. We're really excited about it. We want our community to understand what we're doing with the drone program. So if you know of anyone that you think would be important for them to come into the PD and have that opportunity, we're more than happy to make that happen. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any movement, so I'm assuming that we are at a point where it is 11:06 a.m. and I am adjourning this meeting. The next scheduled meeting for the Police Department's Community Advisory Committee will be Thursday, July 1st, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. I actually see a conflict with that date, just so that you know, with my schedule. So don't pencil that in right now. I'm going to get with Kathy and have her get back to you and see if we can adjust that date maybe a little bit sooner than July 1st. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation. I know Captain Collin will reach out to you in regards to the ad hoc committee, so you guys can get working as soon as possible. Have a great day.
Thank you. Very good meeting.
Thank you. Good meeting. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.